Good morning, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Good morning, Lily. Thank you for being here. Always the first in the house. So glad you're here with me. Oh, so y'all, something happened. So I've got new glasses on right now. I picked these about a week and a half ago. Uh, I was all excited about getting new glasses. And then I went to pick them up and I had my other ones with me. And wouldn't you know, guess what? These are the same exact glasses that I already had. Who would have thought? So now my sister's wearing those ones because our eyes are the same, other than she has the uh, progressive bifocal or whatever it's called. I do not. But yeah, so she's got my old pair. They fit her great. I hope that she gets her glasses back soon because wearing somebody else's are not the same as what you're used to. So yeah, but hopefully they'll get those fixed pretty soon for you. But anyway, so I thought that was kind of funny. I figured I'd share that. Yeah, excited about new glasses, and they're the same ones. Hi, Tony, over on Facebook. Thank you for being here. So today is AA Day. Please do not do any judgment just because they are in the chat or you can see them watching. Hello, Crystal and Lagringa. Just because they are here watching and commenting or chatting does not mean that they are the alcoholic. They could be here to support my channel, support a friend or family member, or use this in their everyday life like I do. People that are not alcoholics use this in their life as well. So it's this is for everything, and I'm using it right now. Not only for alcoholism, but for being a smoker. I am now 6 days without smoking a single cigarette. 6 days. Going strong. I've been craving, but I've been saying no. It's not like I couldn't get one for my sister. Um, so I could get one if I really truly wanted one. But I've been staying focused on no, I don't need that. My goal is to lose weight and get back into being healthy and getting off of the CPAP. That's one of my goals, and getting rid of my pre-diabetes. So, and one of those main things is to quit smoking so I can get the exercise without, exerting all my breath because I do have emphysema or COPD, whichever it is. And so it is hard for me to breathe. But I'm hoping that if I lose weight and get back on a better journey and not smoke, then things will slow down and I will be okay. So anyway, enough about that. Um, let's go ahead and say the Serenity Prayer and then get into step 12. I also put in the description what we're reading, the page we're on, and so forth. Here we go, guys. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory of ourselves, and when we're wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Now we are on step 12, and even though I probably read some of the page 114, I'm going to just start at the top because it's easier for me that way. This one is a long one, so we've got a little while till I'm done reading it. We got that many pages to go, so okay, I'm Sandra and I'm an alcoholic. Our basic troubles are the same as everyone else's, but when an honest effort is made to practice these principles in all our affairs, well-grounded AAs seem to have the ability, by God's grace, to take these troubles in stride and turn them into demonstrations of faith. We have seen AA suffer lingering and fatal illness with little complaint, and often in good cheer. We have sometimes seen families broken apart by misunderstanding, tension, or actual infidelity, who are ruined by the AA's way of life. So the earning power of most AAs is relatively high. We have some members who never seem to get on their feet money-wise, and still others who encounter heavy financial reverses. Ordinarily, we see these situations met with fortitude and faith. Like most people, we have found that we can take our big lumps as they come, but also, like others, we often discover a great challenge in the lesser and more continuous problems of life. Our answer is still more spiritual development. Only by this means can we improve our chances for really happy and useful living. And as we grow spiritually, we find that our old attitudes towards our instincts need to undergo drastic revision. Our desires for emotional security and wealth, for personal prestige and power, for romance and for family satisfaction, all these have to be tempered and redirected. We have learned that the satisfaction of instinct cannot be the sole end and aim of our lives. If we place instincts first, we have got to cart before the horse. We shall be pulled backwards into disillusionment, but when we are willing to place spiritual growth first, then and only then do we have a real chance. After we come into AA, if we go on growing, our attitudes and actions towards security, emotional security, and financial security commence to change profoundly. Our demand for emotional security for our own way had constantly thrown us into unworkable relations with other people, though we were sometimes quite unconscious of this. The result always had been the same. Either we had tried to play God and dominate about us. We have insisted on being over dependent upon them, where people had temporarily let us run their lives as though they were still children. We had felt very happy and secure ourselves, but when they finally resist or run away, we were bitterly hurt and disappointed. We blamed them, being quite unable to see that our unreasonable demands had been the cause. When we had taken the opposite tact and had instead, like insisted, like infants ourselves, that people protect and take care of us, or that the world owed us a living, then the result had been equally unfortunate. This often caused the people we had loved most to push us aside and perhaps desert us entirely. Our disillusionment had been hard to bear. We couldn't imagine people acting that way towards us. We had failed to see that though adult in years, we were still behaving childishly, trying to turn everybody, friends, wives, husbands, even the world itself, into protective parents. We had refused to learn that very hard lesson that over dependence upon people is unsuccessful because all people are fallible and even the best of them will sometimes let us down, especially when our demand for attention becomes unreasonable. As we made spiritual progress, we saw that these fallacies, it became clear that if we ever were to feel emotionally secure among grown up people, we would have to put our lives on a give and take basis. We we would have to develop the sense of being in partnership or brotherhood with all those around us. We saw that we would need to give constantly of ourselves without demands for repayment. When we persisted did this, we gradually found that people were attracted to us as never before. And even if they failed us, we could be understanding and not too seriously affected. When we developed still more, we discovered the best possible source of emotional stability to be God Himself. We found that dependence upon His perfect justice, forgiveness, and love was wealth, and that it would work where nothing else would. If we really depended upon God, couldn't very well play God to our fellows, nor would we feel the urge wholly to rely on human protection and care. These were the few attitudes that finally brought many of us an inner strength and peace that could not be deeply shaken by the shortcomings of others or by any calamity nor of our own making. Sorry. This new outlook was, we learned something especially necessary to us alcoholics, for alcoholism had been a lonely business, even though we had been surrounded by people who loved us. But when self will had driven everybody away and our isolation had become complete, it, it causes it caused us to play the big shot in cheap bar rooms and then far forth alone on the street to depend upon the charity of passersby. We were still trying to find emotional security by beginning or by being dominating or dependent upon others. Even when our fortunes had not had that much, and we nevertheless found ourselves alone in the world, we still vainly tried to be secure by some unhealthy kind of domination or dependence. For those of us who were like that, AA had a very special meaning. Though it will begin to learn right relations with people who understand us, we don't have to be alone anymore. Most married folks in AA have very happy homes. To a surprising extent, AA has offset the damage to family life about by years of alcoholism. But just like all other societies, we do have sex and marital problems, and sometimes they are distressingly accurate or acute. Permanent marriage breakups and separations, however, are unusual in AA. Our main problem is not how we are to stay married, it is how to be more happily married by eliminating the severe emotional twists that have so often stemmed from alcoholism. That's a true fact. Nearly every sound human being experiences at some time in life a compelling desire to find a mate of the opposite sex with whom the fullest possible union can be made. Spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical, this mighty urge is the root of great human accomplishments, a creative energy that deeply influences our lives. God fashioned us that way. So our question will be this: how, by ignorance, compulsion, and self will, do we misuse this gift for our own destruction? We AAs cannot pretend to offer full answers to age old perplexities, but our own experience does provide certain answers that work for us. I see you in there, Gina. Thank you for coming. When alcoholism strikes, very unnatural situations may develop which work against marriage, partnership, and compatible union. If the man is affected, the wife must become the head of the house, often the breadwinner. As matters get worse, the husband becomes a sick and irresponsible child who needs to be looked after and extricated from endless scrapes and impasses. Very gradually and usually without any realization of the fact. The wife is forced to become the mother of an erring boy, and if she had a strong maternal instinct to be being with, the situation is aggravated. Obviously, not much partnership can exist under those conditions. The wife usually goes on doing the best she knows how, but meanwhile, the alcoholic alternately loves and hates her maternal care, maternal care. A pattern is nearby or thereby established that may take a lot of undergoing or undoing later on. Nevertheless, under the influence of AA's 12 steps, these situations are often set right. When this distortion has been great, however, a long period of patient striving may be necessary. After the husband joins AA, the wife may become discontented, even highly resentful that Alcoholics Anonymous has done the very thing that all her years of devotion had failed to. Her husband may become so wrapped up in AA and his new friends that he is inconsiderately away from home more than when he drank. Seeing her unhappiness, he recommends AA's 12 steps and tries to teach her how to live. She naturally feels that for years she had made a far better job of living than he has. Both of them blame each other and ask when their marriage is ever going to be happy again. They may even begin to suspect it had never been any good in the first place. Compatibility, of course, can be so impossible impossibly damaged that a separation may be necessary. But those cases are the unusual ones. The alcoholic realizes what his wife has endured and now fully understands how much he himself did to damage her and his children. Nearly always takes up his marriage responsibilities with a willingness to repair what he can and to accept what he can't. He persistently tries all of AA's 12 steps in his home, often with fine results. At this point, he firmly but lovingly commences to behave like a partner instead of like a baby boy, or a bad boy, sorry. And above all, he is finally convinced that romancing is not a way of life for him. AA has many single alcoholics who wish to marry and are in a position to do so. Some marry fellow AAs, how marry and are in a position to do so. Some marry fellow AAs, how do they come out? On the whole, these marriages are very good ones. Their suffering as drinkers, their common interest in AA and spiritual things, often enhance such unions. It is only where boy meets girl on AA campus and love follows at first sight that difficulties we may develop. The perspective pattern need to be solid AAs and long enough acquainted to know that their compatibility at spiritual, mental, and emotional levels is a fact and not wishful thinking. They need to be more sure as possible that no deep lying emotional handicap in either will be likely to rise up under later pressures to cripple them. The considerations are equally true and important for AA who marry outside AA with clear understanding and right grown up attitudes. Very happy results and follow. Ah, mm. And what can be said of many AA members who, for a variety of reasons, cannot have a family life? At first, many of these feel lonely, hurt, and left out as they witness so much domestic happiness about them. If they cannot have this kind of happiness, can AA offer them satisfaction of similar worth and durability? Yes, whenever they try hard to seek them out. Surrounded by so many AA friends, these so called loners tell us they no longer feel alone. In partnership with others, women and men, they can devote themselves to any number of ideas, people, and constructive projects, free of marital responsibilities. They can participate in enterprises which would be denied to family men and women. We daily see such members render prodigies of service and receive great joys in return. Where the possession of money and marital or material things was concerned, our outlook underwent the same revolutionary change, with a few exceptions. All of us had been spendthrift. We threw money about in every direction with the purpose of pleasing ourselves and impressing other people in our drinking time. We acted as if the money supply was inexhaustible, though between binges we'd sometimes go to the other extreme and become almost miser, miserly. Without realizing it, we were just accumulating funds for the next spree. Money was a symbol of pleasure and self importance. When our drinking had become much worse, money was only an urgent requirement which could supply us with the next drink and the temporary comfort of oblivion it brought. Upon entering AA, these attitudes were sharply reversed, often going much too far in the opposite direction. The spectacle of years of waste threw us into panic. There simply wouldn't be time, we thought, to rebuild shutter or rebuild our shuttered fortunes. We could How could we ever take care of those awful debts, possess a decent home, educate the kids, and set something by for old age? Financial importance was no longer our principal aim. We now clamored for material security, even when we were well re-established in our businesses. These terrible fears often continue to haunt us. Copper, can you quit doing that? This made us misers and penny pinchers all over again. Complete financial security we must have, or else. We forgot that most alcoholics in AA have an earning power considerably above average. We forgot the immense goodwill of our brother AAs, who were only too eager to help us to better jobs when we deserved them. We forgot the actual or potential financial insecurities of every human being in the world. And worst of all, we forgot God. If in money matters we had and faith only out in ourselves and not too much of that. This all meant, of course, that we were still far off balance. When a job still looked like a mere means of getting money rather than an opportunity for service, when the acquisition of money for financial independence looked more important than a right dependence upon God, were still the victim of unreasonable fear, and these were fears which would make a serene and useful existence at any financial level quite impossible, sorry. But as time passed, we found that with the help of a 12 steps, we could lose those fears no matter what our material prospects were. We could cheerfully perform humble labor without worrying about tomorrow. If our circumstances had happened to be good, we no longer dreaded a change for the worse. We had learned that these troubles could be turned into great values. It did not matter too much what our material condition was, but it did matter what our spiritual condition was. Money gradually became our servant and not our master. It became a means of exchanging love and service with those about us. When with God's help we calmly accept our lot, then we found we could live at peace with ourselves and show others who still suffer the same fears that they could get over them. Two, we found that freedom from fear was more important than freedom of want. Let's here take a note of our improved outlook upon the problem of personal importance, power, ambition, and leadership. These were reefs upon which many of us came to shipwreck during our drinking careers. Practically every boy in the United States dreams of becoming our president. He wants to be his country's number one man. As he gets older and sees the impossibility of this, he can smile good naturedly at his childhood dream. In later life, he finds that real happiness is not to be found in just trying to be a number one man, or even a first grader in the heartbreaking struggle for money, romance, or self importance. He learns that he can be content as long as he plays well whatever card life deals him. He still he's still ambitious, but not absurdly so, because he can now see and accept actual reality. He's willing to stay right size, but not so with alcoholics. When AA was quite young, a number of eminent philosophers. Oh, I move my leg. Where was I? Psychologists. Let me fix my laptop real quick. There we go. And doctors made an exhaustive study of a good sized group of so called problem drinkers. The doctors weren't trying to find how different we were from one another. They sought to find whatever personality traits, if any, this group of alcoholics had in common. They finally came up with a conclusion that shocked the AA members of that time. These distinguished men had the nerve to say that most of the alcoholics under investigation were still childish, emotionally sensitive, and grandiose. How we alcoholics did resent that verdict. We would not believe that our adult dreams were often truly childish, and considering the rough deal life had often given us, we felt it perfectly natural that we were sensitive as to our grandiose behavior. We insisted that we had been possessed of nothing but a high and legitimate ambition to win the battle of life. In the years since, however, most of us have come to agree with those doctors. We have had a much keener look of ourselves and those about us. We have seen that we were prodded by unreasonable fears or anxieties into making a life business of winning fame, money, and what we thought was leadership. So false pride became the reverse side of that reunious coin marked fear. We simply had to be number one, people to cover up our deep lying inferiorities and pitful successes. We boasted of greater fears or feats to be done. In defeat, we were bitter. If we did not have much of in worldly success, we became depressed and cowed. Then people said we were of the inferior type, but now we see ourselves as chips off the same old block. At heart, we had all been abnormally fearful. It mattered little whether we had sat on the shore of life drinking ourselves into forgetfulness or had plunged in recklessly and willfully beyond our depths and ability. The result was the same. All of us had nearly perished in a sea of alcohol. But today is well matured AAs. These distorted drives have been restored for something like their true purpose and direction. We no longer strive to dominate or rule those about us in order to gain self importance. We no longer seek fame and honor in order to be praised. When by devoted service to family, friends, business, or community, we attract widespread affection and are sometimes signaled out for posts of greater responsibility and trust. We try to be humbly grateful and exert ourselves the more in a spirit of love and service. True leadership, we find, depends upon able example and not upon vain displays of power or glory. Still more wonderful is the feeling that we do not have to be specially distinguished among our fellows in order to be useful and profoundly happy. Not many of us can be leaders of prominence, nor do we wish to be. Service gladly rendered, obligations squarely met, troubles well accepted or solved by God's help or with God's help. The knowledge that at home or in the world outside we are partners in a common effort. The well understood fact that in God's sight all human beginnings are important. The proof that love freely given surely brings a full return. The certainty that we are no longer isolated and alone in self constructed prison. The certainty that we need no longer be square pegs in round holes, but can fit and belong in God's scheme of things. These are the prominent and legitimate satisfactions of right living for which no amount of pomp and circumstances, no heap of material possessions could possibly be a substitute. True ambition is not what we thought it was. True ambition, the deep desire to live useful and walk humbly under the grace of God. These little studies of AA's 12 steps now come to a close. We have been considering so many problems that it may appear that AA consists mainly of racking dilemmas and troubleshooting. To a certain extent, that is true. We have been talking about problems because we are problem people who have found a way up and out and who wish to share our knowledge of that way with all who can use it. For it is only by accepting and solving our problems that we can begin to get right with ourselves and with the world about us and with Him who presides over us all. Understanding is the key to right principles and attitudes, and right actions is the key to good living. Therefore, the joy of good living is the theme of AA's 12th step. With each passing day of our lives, may every one of us sense more deeply the inner meanings of AA's simple prayer, and it is the serenity prayer. God grant us the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And now we have the wisdom that we know the difference. And God is right there with us. He's not there to fix it for us. He is there to help us get through it. And, without AA, and I will be honest, completely upfront and honest, I did not think that going to this program was going to ever help me in any way. That was not my intentions on going, okay? I had no intentions of continuing AA after that first one. That was when I started. Hey, Mike, can you come here? That's when I started AA. The first day I was like, nah, this is just a bunch of people, whatever. I'm just going to meet my friend. And for real, that's what it was. I hadn't seen my friend in many, many, many years, and so I wanted to see my friend. And I'm glad I did. Can you go get me ice? Thank you. I'm glad I did because AA works. It works. Really does. Because if I didn't have AA, I wouldn't be sitting here sober. I wouldn't be blessed to have my family and my friends and my fellowship and be able to sit here and share my story with everyone. Um, yeah, we're all different, but then again, we're all the same. We have the same issue, and that is alcohol. And no matter how many days or how many years you have, you still need to remember that it's just going to take that one drink. Just one drink will take you right back to where you came from. It took you this long to get to where you are now just to fall back in 2 seconds, right? Well, I can vouch that that's what happens because I did it. And that was before I found AA. And I have been blessed with two sponsors. One passed away. She was one that kept telling me, I'm so proud you've got your voice to keep using it. Um, and I have my sponsor that always tells me, when you get upset about something, you get mad at somebody or something, you need to pray for them. Not me, I have to pray for them. And it's true because when you pray for yourself, that's being selfish. But when you're praying for somebody else that's not doing you right, then it makes you feel better because you want them to be better than what they are doing. And that's part of our work is we need to share our knowledge of AA and pass the word for becoming sober and saying how it is being sober. And I tell you, if I hadn't found AA, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. Probably off drunk in a corner somewhere, sitting all by myself, being self pity. You know, I'm glad I'm not that person. And I never want to go back. My plan is to never go back, but I can't say that I won't. Because as soon as you say you won't, that's when you start to get those I'm going to. And it's true, people come in, they get sober, then they go back out, and they come back and they get sober. Um, it's just a thing. And no matter what, AA does not turn you away. No matter how many times you go out, no matter how many times you show up to a meeting and you had already been drinking, you are still welcome. You're still welcome, and we'll open our arms and let you come in, and we can help you make your life right and make it worth what you want it to be like, what you envision for yourself. Because when you had dreams can become realities, especially when you're sober. Um, I had dreams of watching my boys both graduate. They both graduated, and I watched them with sober eyes and my true, authentic feelings. And that was the proudest day of my life, was watching them get their diplomas. And, you know, and my marriage is better because when I was drinking, my husband did leave. He didn't leave for very long, but it was to that point where he was going to leave and my son was going with him. And so that's when I got sober for the year. Um, and then I just fell off and was like, I'm gonna go ahead and go drink and see what it does, you know? Big mistake. Right back down to the bottom of the jug. And it took me probably about another year to come off of it. So, but I just got lucky and I have a wonderful family. Um, my parents are great. Um, my relationships are different than what they used to be. Um, it's just living life, being sober and happy and feeling my true feelings and being an honest person. And the biggest one yet, staying sober and helping others by sharing my story and by doing these meetings. And if you find it helpful, please subscribe. Even if you don't come in the chat on the live stream, you don't you don't comment, just hit the like button and subscribe. And because this is something that I'm passionate about, and this and my adventures. So, but I do AA meetings every Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then I do another AA meeting on Saturdays at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I also go live Wednesday mornings right after my good friend Ava Potterfield and friends. And so I will see you guys tomorrow morning. And let's go ahead and say our serenity prayer. And I will read the daily reflection. And then you guys can be on your day. I hope it's a wonderful one for everyone. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I love you guys over here on Facebook. I will post it on my wall. Love ya. Thanks for being here and supporting me. Now, I had to move these glasses again because I can't see with them on to read. Today's daily reflection is March 5th, 2024, a lifelong task. But just how in these circumstances does a fellow take it easy? That's what I want to know. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 26. I was never known for my patience. How many times have I asked, why should I wait when I can have it all right now? Indeed, when I was first presented the 12 steps, I was like the provincial kid in a candy store. I couldn't wait to get to step 12. It was surely just a few months' work, or so I thought. I realized not that living the 12 steps of AA is a lifelong undertaking. It sure is. Sure is. Anyways, you guys, I will see you all tomorrow if you come and hang out with me for my adventure side of my channel. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Love you guys. Be safe out there. And don't forget to be kind.